Hello, humans. I am doing a recap of the Iowa Hawkeyes and how they did. And in my humble opinion, they performed better than everyone else as far as expectations going into the tournament and how they came out. Our, Terry Brands even said it in his interview with Chad Leistokow with the Des Moines Register. He admitted this is the worst year on record that he's had. And guess what? He took a fourth place trophy home at the Nationals tournament. That doesn't discredit what happened in the year where we lost to Minnesota for the first time in 14 years, where we lost to Iowa State for the first time in 20. We wrestled Ohio State twice, who was the second best dual team in the country, arguably. I don't know if they met up with Okie State. I don't think they did. But I'm curious to see how that would turn out. Especially given that Mendez, yeah, they didn't wrestle this year. Especially given that Mendez lost to Vega. So what's that do? And then Jax lost to Davino. So I'm going to go ahead and say Okie State. Now that I think about it, most likely in hindsight is the second best dual team in the country. But yeah, it would be hard to tell. And I'm not going to go through all those weights right now. But yeah, the Hawks, they out-wrestled themselves. They out-wrestled their seed. Freaking Gabe Arnold was a 27 seed and got 7th place at 197, where he's two weights. You know, he's not a 197 pounder. We don't need to get into that. We all know that. And, yeah, just very, very proud of the Hawkeyes. Being a Hawkeye fan, I'm very proud of what I saw. There's nothing that could have happened that would have been any better than what happened at the Nationals tournament this year for the Hawks. Yes, Dean Peterson and Nasir Bailey could have All-Americaned, but they didn't. So here we are. Here we are, folk. All right. Overall, the Hawkeyes went 36-16 in their matches, and they had 9 major decisions, 2 tech falls, and one pinfall, one fall. Okay, and a third of their W's were major decisions. Honestly, in comparison to years past, it feels like that is more than what we had in years past. I don't know that off the top of my head. I haven't done the research. I just know that a third of your W's being bonus points helps. And I may go through the other teams to see where they're at as far as that goes. We'll see. If I feel like creating content in that fashion, I will do it. And a note, I heard this from Hawkeye Storm First podcast where they, it was the wrestling. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. But he had mentioned that all the All-Americans were in-home guys, with the exception of Caliendo, because he was technically a transfer, but I'm looking at that guy as a Hawk. He's one of the best Hawks to ever be a Hawk. Straight up. And Caliendo, thank you for everything you've done for the University of Iowa. You've truly been amazing to watch, and I love the way you wrestle, man. Just go and get it. Messenbrink's good. Messenbrink is good. And Caliendo will go down as someone who maybe Caliendo will go down as one of the best to never get a national championship. And it just so happened to be that Mitchell Messenbrink was in his way, and that's the way it goes. And I'm going to hit on it because it's on the mind. But there's a video going around of Mitchell Messenbrink shaking everyone's hands at the podium when they were there. He gets to Mikey Caliendo, and Mikey just stares straight ahead. And everybody else shakes Messenbrink's hand, whatever. I don't see the problem with that. I see how people could have a problem with that in their fandom. Like, if you hate Iowa, you look at that and you go, that's why. That's why I hate Iowa. They're just, yeah. Whatever you say about Iowa. I've heard it all. I've been a fan my whole entire life. I've went to Nationals forever. And, yeah, Iowa fans and the Iowa team are typically seen as someone that people don't like. And honestly, I will have to agree that the way that the sport was portrayed while Dan Gable was at his height, Yeah, it's not how I see wrestling. And I think it pushed wrestling back a step a little bit with how it was more so the mentality that Dan Gable had with his athletes. Like, you work, 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 and then you'll get the reward. While that is true, the way they were working is not exactly the way that you get good at wrestling. You work on the skills, you drill. It doesn't always have to be go, 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 go. Yeah. Conditioning can be conditioning during the season. Just make sure your athletes are ready for a 7-minute match and for the potential of a 9-minute match, which if they're ready for a 7-minute match, those other 2 minutes are not going to, they'll be ready for it is what I'm getting at. You don't need these guys to be able to run 20 miles or something. I don't know what the hell they did. They ran up the Carver stairs and whatnot. And I'll say, like, I went to the Iowa wrestling camp when I was in 8th grade. Got the shit kicked out of me by kids that were getting recruited by Iowa because I wasn't that good. And it made me realize how tough wrestling actually is. And it is. It's a tough sport. It's a tough sport. I'm not taking anything away from that. But when I look back on the Gable era, I think to myself, yeah, it's outdated now. And the brands aren't doing that now with them, but yeah. Okay, back on topic. 36-16, third of the W's were major decisions. On day one, they went 16-2, which is huge. It's absolutely huge. Ryder Block lost to Jackson Joy, and Gabe Arnold lost to Justin Rademacher. And those are the 2 losses. A 15 seed goes down to a 2 seed. A 27 seed goes down to a 6 seed. First day of the tournament. That's it. And then day 2, 15-7. Day 3, we went 5-7. Hawks did. The Iowa wrestling team, went 5-7 on day 3. And let's go weight by weight. All right, Peterson went 2-2, got to the blood round, lost to Klingsky, and he lost to Lillidahl on the front side. And he only had one. He had one major decision. Take out the only. He had one major decision, which helped with the team points. Ayala, he got 5th place. He went 5-2 throughout the tournament. He lost to Marcus Blaze and Aaron Seidel. Expected. He had 2 major decisions and 1 tech fall. Thank you, Drake Ayala, again, for what you've done. Nasir Bailey went into the blood round. He had 1 major decision, and he went 2-2. He lost Sergio Vega and Wyatt Henson of Lockhaven in the blood round. Ryder Block, he went 5-3 throughout the tournament. Got 6th place. He lost Jackson Joy, Lachlan McNeil of Michigan, and Colin Guy of Virginia Tech. A good tournament, and listening to his interview, he was down in the dumps. He just lost 2 matches to get 6th place, but Ryder Block, you had a great tournament. Mikey Caliendo got 2nd place again. Went 4-1 throughout the tournament. He had 1 fall, 1 tech fall, and 1 major decision. And he beat Joey Blaze by decision in the semis, and he got tech falled by Messenbrink in the final. PK, Patrick Kennedy got 3rd place. Goes out on a win in his career. It's lovely to see. He got 1 major decision. He went 5-1 throughout the tournament. Only lost to Levi Haynes. Hell of a tournament for PK. Angelo Ferrari, he got 1 major decision. He got 6th place. He lost to McAnally. He med forfeited to Campos, who went on to the 3rd place match, and he med forfeited it would be Brock Mantanona from Michigan for this 5th place match, and he went 3-3 overall. I'm really considering it 3-1, but 3-3. Okay, and he could have helped with team points. You know, Christian Piles did bring it up. It's not that I didn't know it before, but Angelo not wrestling could have kept Iowa from getting a team trophy for 4th. And that's the thing. At the time in session 5, when I did my recap there, it's like those are team points right there, just gone. And yeah, I'll go back to it. Angelo, if Angelo's hurt, yeah, don't wrestle. Don't wrestle. But at the same time, it's the last 2 matches of the year. How much hurt are you going to get? And how much is your recovery going to aid from you not stepping out there? I don't really know the answers to that. But everyone's hurt at the end of the year. And that's what I know based on what I've watched my entire life in wrestling. Everybody's banged up after that tournament. You're going through a ringer of wrestlers. You're going through the best wrestlers in America. Not including the ones international. Right. Not freestyle, but folk style. You are. Gabe Arnold got 7th place. An amazing story. He went 5-2. He lost to Rademacher and he lost to McDaniel. And I believe he beat John for 7th place from Maryland. On to Ben Keeter. Ben Keeter got 5th place because of a med forfeit from Angelo Ferrari in the 5th place round. He got 1 medical forfeit, which is team points. He lost to Bastida and Tag Ali. A good tournament from Ben Keeter. He lost to the guys you would think he would lose to. And I wish we would get to see him wrestle AJ for a second time, just to see how that would have went. But we were not able to see that. And that's perfectly fine. And now what I want to get into... Oh, okay, since 2021, and I heard this on the Hawkeye Sport podcast, the Hawkeye Storm podcast first. 2021 was the last time with 7 All-Americans. 5 years. And yeah, that's what I got for the Hawks. And I'd like to get into what I think about Tom Brands, Terry Brands at the helm. I've had mixed feelings about that for, I don't know, I went to the 2020, I think it was the 2020 Big Tens, 2021 possibly. I could look it up. I'm not going to do that. But it was somewhere around that time, 2000. It was when the Big Tens were in Lincoln, Nebraska, okay? So if you want to go look and check me, yeah, go ahead and look and check me, all right? It was sometime in that time period, but I had mentioned to my mom because we were at the Big Tens together. And, like, everybody on the Iowa team just seemed freaking hurt. They're wrestling passive-aggressive. Like, they're wrestling passive. And they're not creating action. They're waiting for their moment to find their takedown rather than going and getting it. Like, with all of that, like, I just thought they were overworked. I thought the Brands brothers weren't evolving with the times. And I thought it was time for a change then. And then this year when things were going, like, when we lost to Minnesota, Iowa State. Okay? That doesn't typically happen at Iowa. Not to say those aren't good teams and haven't been good teams throughout the years, because they have been. But, yeah, it was frustrating to watch that. And then, at the end of the year here, he gets 4th place as at the tournament. And I've been saying that he's not evolving with the times. And my thought process now, given the expectation from the university, not necessarily the university, but its fans, the wrestling fans, are like Nebraska football fans. Tom Brands has been coaching throughout the dynasty of Penn State. And you know what he's done? He's continued to compete. The gap has widened. Yes. He's got 2 national titles, I believe, in his coaching career at Iowa. One of them was taken away in Minneapolis over COVID, which fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. I was supposed to go. I had tickets to go. Wasn't able to go. Because of freaking COVID. Canceled it. Everybody's locked down for what? For what? Because people got shitty immune systems. And for your grandma. Okay, I'm done getting political. But yeah, during that time it was exciting when Spencer Lee was there. You're thinking we're going to get recruits through this, and we did. We still get recruits. But guess what? Penn State is a dynasty, guys. Cale Sanderson is Dan Gable. He's Cale Sanderson, okay? But he's the Dan Gable of the 80s and 90s. I lower your expectations, Iowa fans. Lower your expectations. And guess what? Getting fourth, third, second, essentially every year. There's been a couple years where we haven't gotten a trophy. I understand the funding and everything that's brought into the program. And we should be able to compete with Penn State. No, nobody can. Absolutely nobody can compete with Penn State. Even when Oklahoma State gets good, all they're going to do is compete. They're not going to beat them every freaking year. That ain't going to happen. No way, Jose. For as long as Cale is there, they're going to keep winning. But you know what they're going to continue to do? Team point records. National finalist records. Like, they're going to continue to do the things that they're doing for as long as Cale is there. And Iowa fans struggle to accept the fact that Iowa is not the cream of the crop anymore. And the way that Iowa did it back in the 80s and 90s doesn't work nowadays. And it won't. It won't. I think Tom and Terry deserve as much time as they want to be there. That's what I think Tom and Terry deserve. That's what I think Tom and Terry have done for this program. I think they've continued to keep it one of the top programs over 20 years, it seems. Yeah, it's got to be close to 20 years they've been at the helm. And fans will say what they say, but there's a lot going on in that room that we don't know about. And that's clear with the Masoma and Dean things. There's been some things that Jordan Williams has posted on social media that you can read into. Rather, like, he hasn't come out and said anything outright. And I do believe he'll enter the transfer portal. I don't know why he wouldn't. They put Victor Voinovich in at the end of the season, and that was questionable to me. Jordan Williams is better than Victor Voinovich. I understand they make decisions. They say that they're putting the best guys on the mat. Jordan Williams is much more talented than Victor Voinovich from what I've seen out of wrestling from the both of them. And I think everybody would agree that Jordan Williams is most likely is better, okay? And what they managed to do with the team this year, given everything that happened throughout the season, and they get a fourth-place trophy, I am ecstatic about what happened. I hope Tom and Terry stay for as long as they can. I think they're great men. I think they have failed to evolve with the times. But I also believe that the pressure that is applied from the fan base is, what do you say, ridiculous. It's you're expecting too much. You come up with the word that comes up with that. You know what I'm saying? With that pressure that's applied onto the whole program, rather than just loving the kids, people make mistakes, man. People lose matches. People lose duels. Teams lose duels. Teams underperform at the Nationals tournament. Things happen that you don't know what's happening, and I don't know what's happening. I have questions as to what's happening. I don't have access to that shit. None of it. But the Brands boys deserve their flowers, and what they've done is created something that every other college in college wrestling is trying to create. They ain't trying to become Penn State. They're just trying. Some teams are just trying to get an All-American, guys. I realize the prestige of Iowa and everything. I do. But also realize that you may be asking for too much if you want a national championship every single year, and that's the expectation that you have, just based on freaking Dan Gable back in the 80s and the 90s. Date yourself. Get back with the times. It's not 1980, 1990s anymore. You can't just run a kid out of bounds and fucking throw him on the ground and say he's stalling and call that wrestling. And now I do have an issue with the passive wrestling that I've seen from the Iowa wrestlers, which is coached to them. It has to be, in my opinion. Like that is something that the coaches are. There hardly any action in an Iowa wrestling match, truly. As of late, it wasn't always that way. No, it wasn't. I remember the days of Brent Metcalf, Jay Borschel, Montel Marion. I remember those days like it was yesterday. I was a kid. I loved those teams deeply. And what did I see? Action. Joey Slayton. Action. Until he got pinned from Coleman Scott in the finals. And I don't think we ever saw Joey Slayton again, which was nuts. I don't know what... I forget what happened with all that. I was a kid, too. I was just a fan. And that's all I've ever been. And I take information in from people that know more than me, and I have perspective on it. That's all. And I give credit where it's due, where I hear my things. I am no expert. I don't know more about anyone than wrestling. And anybody that thinks that about themselves in regards to anyone, unless your name is Willie the Brain Sailor or Christian Piles or someone that's been in the sport forever, yeah, they know more about wrestling. Hell, Willie Sailor's been watching these kids since they were in middle school. Freaking nut, that's dedication. That's his life. This is not my life. This is not my life. This is something I observe and enjoy to observe. I have perspective on it, that's all. So, Tom Brands, Terry Brands, stay at the helm. They don't need to go anywhere. Period. And the hot seat should be lifted. It should have been like the way that I was thinking about the Brands brothers the past couple of years. Like I've been brought a new perspective. Truly. I've been able to change my mind. I've been able to realize reality before me. And before me is David Taylor doing something at Oklahoma State. And Cale Sanderson has developed something at Penn State that Iowa had in the 80s and 90s. And guys, we're not in the 80s and 90s anymore. It's gone. It's past. It's past. And now we're just the third or fourth best team every fucking year. And Iowa fans have a problem with it. Enjoy the hell out of these wrestling matches. Enjoy the hell out of these Iowa teams. Because it could be worse. 100%. You remember Jim Zaleski and what happened? He was going down, down, down. Until we found Tommy from Virginia Tech. He's from Iowa. Okay. But you get it. Get off these guys' ass. And I do my best to try and get off their ass, but I do have perspective. Especially when we're going into 1-1 sudden victory matches. What are we doing? What are we doing? We don't think we're better than this guy, so we got to stand around, back up the whole match until we can find our perfect opportunity to find a takedown. You had freaking 7 minutes to do it! Well, that is my biggest harp on the Iowa wrestling program at this moment. I want more excitement. I want more points. I want more scrambling. And that's the other thing. Is there a coach in that room that knows how to scramble? Spencer Lee was pretty damn good at scrambling. He really didn't even have to, though. He had clean finishes most of the time. And then we go. Like, Kemmerer was in that room. Now he's not. He's gone. And he was a damn good scrambler. Bobby Telford, I ain't ever seen him scramble a day in my life. Ryan Morningstar, same shit. I ain't seen it. But I will also say, as I mentioned before, I went to that Iowa wrestling camp when I was in 8th grade and realized that, yeah, this is a lot of work. While I was there, Ryan Morningstar was there. And he had just graduated. He was still the coach around the team and whatnot. But I said to myself, as an 8th grade boy, back in 2009, that man's going to be a great coach. And I believe Ryan Morningstar is fantastic. And I believe he should stay. Yeah, but Bobby Telford, I just haven't understood. Whenever I see him in the corner, I don't get it. I don't get it. And Bobby Telford, thank you for everything you did for the Iowa wrestling program. Even when you were wrestling, especially now. Like, I'm sure you're a great man. I just don't understand. Like, the coaches that we could have in the corner, I don't understand why Bobby Telford is the guy in the corner. And I've heard rumors of him leaving. Willie Saylor said on Bash in the Brain one of the days, and then he had said that there are murmurs, and he said that he did not think this was going to happen, like he didn't believe it, but he heard murmurs that Yanni Diakomahalis could be a possibility. And when I think of that, I think that would be great. That man knew how to scramble. He knows how to wrestle in every position. It's not just head, hands, and find your double leg or find your single leg and then finish it. It's, you got to wrestle all positions. And I don't know if there's a guy in the room right now that knows how to wrestle all the positions or coach it the way that others are doing it. I mean, David Taylor, I watched him wrestle every position. David Taylor, the Magic Man, was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up. And watching him. On the other hand, Kyle Dake was one of the most boring people I've ever watched in my life. But that's how he was. He was a defensive wrestler. And he won 4 national championships at 4 different weights. Who am I to say anything? I'm not. I'm just saying he wasn't that exciting typically. Yeah. I believe that Iowa needs to find a way to find a coach to help them wrestle in all positions. Is what I see as a lot of straight-on wrestling. And whenever we get in a scramble, we're grabbing ankles. We're grabbing ankles and we're holding on. Put those hips to the fuck. Put your pecker to the mat. That was one of my high school coaches, and then one of my coaches that helped me grow up. He always said, "Put your pecker on the mat. Get your pecker to the mat." But that is what it is. I think that is the problem. For our only fourth place trophy team in the national championships. If Iowa got 4th, 3rd, 2nd in any other sport on campus, people would be freaking out. Basketball just got to the Sweet 16. They're acting like it's Christmas Day, and it is. Congratulations, Iowa basketball team. What a great victory against Florida. Okay? Iowa wrestling is still dominant. They're not as dominant as they were in the 80s and 90s. But guess what? We're not the dynasty going right now. Iowa is not the dynasty going right now. Cale is. Penn State is. It's not Iowa. And it's not... Iowa should be national champions. It should be, Iowa should be competitive. Iowa should be exciting. Iowa every once in a while should be competitive for a first place trophy. But to say that Iowa should be the top dog every single year in today's era of college wrestling is absolutely asinine. And yes, I think that those people are fucking stupid. And they've lost touch with reality in the sport of college wrestling. All right. That's what I got to say. Go frickin' Hawks. What a great tournament. I always love my Hawks. I always love them.